Alright, so in this video, I just wanted to show you how to clean up your image. So if you're working traditionally and you took pictures of your work, you brought them into Photoshop, you now have your frames set up. So you have frame 1, right, and you have frame 2. You want to look at each of them completely separate. Don't be fooled by what's happening in the background here, thinking that the background of frame 2 is gonna look like this, because it's not. Because when I turn frame 1 off, this is what frame 2 actually looks like, right? So work with them individually. So you can see frame 2 has half of it has no background to it. So we have to work on cleaning up these images and how you would go about this. I'm going to give you a few tips. One, I would really clean up your background and even enhance colors and so forth. So I'm going to start with frame 1. I'm going to use if you go under your magic wand tool, you have your quick selection tool. So I'm going to use my quick selection tool. The larger you make it, the more it's going to pick up. The smaller you make it, the less it's going to pick up. But I'm going to use this to select majority of my background, keeping in mind that it's not getting rid of certain items. Like right now, it's kind of getting rid of my lines here. So I go back and adjust that. So I was able to pick up my background. All right. I do want to pick up some of the space in here, but notice when I do that, it's like really picking up a lot. So you want to make it a little bit smaller and see how now it's like kind of picking up more of the space that I'm looking for. Okay, do that here. Do it again. Go. Okay. All right, so now I have this background selected, except for this like little black space here. So let me select that. Now I've got the whole space selected. There are two different approaches. I could use my paint bucket and fill in the background that way. So I would say I wanted to make my background white. Okay. I could use my paint bucket. Now the whole background's filled. Should fill in that little black space, but I can get that later. Another approach could be to paint it in. If you wanted to get crazy, paint in that background, you can. If you notice it's now not painting in anything that's not selected. Okay. Or you can do edit fill, and edit fill will fill the background with whatever color you would like to use. You could pick a color. You could use your foreground color, your background color. That would be these two colors on your color picker. Or you can change it to black, gray, or white. Okay, so that will automatically do that for me. I'm going to deselect this by doing Command D. And now I have my frame 1 completed. But now I got to do that to frame 2 as well. Right, so I turned frame 1 off. Now I'm going to make sure I'm selecting frame 2. Okay. And I'm going to, again, select my background, right? Make sure I'm getting into the smaller spaces that also need to be white. Okay. And I'm going to do edit fill again. All right, so it filled in just the space surrounding. In fact, I didn't realize it's all I selected. So notice it just selected that space, but that's okay. I can deselect that and I can go in using my marquee tool or even just paint it, but I can go in and use my paint bucket to fill that area. I can deselect that and do it again to this area and this area below. So you want to make sure you're picking up all of that space that's necessary. There you go. All right. So now I have frame 2 and I have frame 1, right? Now I did this fairly quickly. I would make sure that really, as I notice the lines here, make sure I don't get into my design too much. Now let's say I wanted to change certain things about my image, like maybe the color. Then you can go back in separately. You could use some of your color correction tools, right? Which can be found here and under your adjustments, right? You could also use your dodge, burn, and sponge tool. Your dodge tool will lighten things, and it could be used just like a paintbrush. So I can go in, make this smaller, and I can lighten things specifically if I want to lighten, let's say, the face a little bit more. Now, if you're going to do this, you want to make sure you do it to the other one too, or else when you go to animate it, her colors are going to change and so forth. Okay, I could do that. I could also go in and paint it, but again, if I'm going to do stuff like that, I have to make sure I do that to my my other frames as well. The burn tool will darken. So let's say I wanted to go in and just like maybe darken the color of the design on her shirt. I can do that. Maybe I want to add color or make some color more vibrant. Maybe I feel like it lost color when I took a picture. Your sponge tool will do that. So what you can do is, let's say I wanted to make the hair color a little bit more vibrant. You want to make sure your mode's on saturate, and you can go in and it will just saturate the hair a little bit more, right? Make it more vibrant. Okay. Now, again, if you do stuff like that, you want to make sure you do it to the other one, right? So that they flow nicely together. So that's how I would go about cleaning up and touching up your work if you're working traditionally. All right. I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions, let me know.